Hello and welcome to IASPrimers. My name is Shubhashish and you're watching today's daily news analysis. Now, as part of our initiative, I make it a point to share questions for mains answer writing practice, and you can get your answers evaluated for free. So 2 answers every week. Now today we have 2 questions, very important concepts. So the first one is about the need for neutrality in bureaucracy. So this is a topic that I believe is very important, especially for GS2, the governance component, or in ethics also we have governance, so ethics in governance, GS4. And there is hardly any distinction these days between the questions that are asked in the GS4 governance component with GS2. Now the other question is with reference to the recent report of microplastics that have been discovered in the human blood. So it's very simple. What are microplastics and how does it affect us? What can be done about it? So these are the 2 things that we are covering in today's from the mains perspective over here. Okay. Now this is again a very interesting concept about creative cities, right? So this is an interesting concept which you must follow. Now the first article, this is about the protest in Lok Sabha as bill envisages lifting biometrics of detainees. So basically a new bill has been introduced, Criminal Procedure Identification Bill. Now what does this bill say? That anybody who is detained where? In the prison. So it could be somebody who is facing a trial. So it could be an under trial. It could be somebody who is found guilty. So a person who is arrested or who's facing punitive detention, as punitive means a punishment, or somebody who is under preventive detention, that in future he may do something, he or she may do something, so he or she is put in the jail. So with reference to arrest, it is Article 20 and punitive is 22, right? Exemptions, preventive detention. Now for these people, anybody who's detained basically, this bill provides the prison authorities the power or the authority to collect, store and analyze physical and biological samples including retina and iris scans. Right, so all biometrics basically can be collected by these authorities over here, and this record can be stored for up to 75 years. One thing is for investigation, but recording it for 75 years. So it's not making much this thing over here. And furthermore, it is violating Article 21 Puttaswamy judgment, which says that right to privacy is inherent in Article 21 of the Constitution. So that is what it is saying. It is unconstitutional. Furthermore, we can say it is violative of Article 20 Part 3. So which says that no person can be held a witness in his or her own case. So when one's own data is being taken over here, so it can be argued that one is required to provide evidence against him or herself. So in that way. Now the other issue is people with preventive detention or under trial, people who have not been accused, right? So their data can also be taken over here. So these are certain concerns over here. And there was also some time back, there was also a DNA bill. So this is like 7-8 years back actually. So there was a concern that DNA samples can be collected and it can be profiled also. So that profiling can be done in accordance to one caste, one's religion, region, etc. And then it could be articulated, okay, fine, people from so and so caste are more likely to be criminals, right? So, or this group. So that is also a concern about profiling. Okay, I am not sharing a question because already we have 2 questions over here and more analysis will come subsequently. Breakdown in neutrality of Odisha bureaucracy. So let's do this first of all. So this is with reference to the the Biju Janata Dal Party in the state of Odisha. So they won local elections. So the senior bureaucrats, everyone congratulated the chief minister that their party has done very, very well. So the opposition parties in Odisha, BJP and Congress, they are saying that it is quite evident that the state machinery, the state officers are supporting the Biju Janata Dal political party. So the bureaucracy is not neutral. So the ruling party is using or is winning the polls using the state machinery. Right, so this is what it is saying. But this is not the only case. How about the concerns associated with the appointment of certain secretaries, maybe certain important post? What about the CBI directors being said that they are being close to a certain political party, right? Rakesh Asthana case, that all the controversy that had taken place. Then appointment to a retired person being appointed as the commissioner of Delhi, the same CBI director. Then the same people, some bureaucrats who were said to be close to a particular political party, are being appointed in the UPSC or in the Information Commission. Right. So such allegations have been made in the past. So there is a concern that the bureaucracy may not be neutral. They may take sides. Okay, so and so people, and they say it also informally that so and so party is so and so bureaucrats are more close to this party. So and so are this more close to the other party. So they say also in that regard. So when that political party is in power, with which a particular IS or any officer is affiliated to, they are more likely to get promoted. And who knows, at the later stages of the career, they may get better posts also, like director of CBI, UPSC, you name it. So there is a concern. The person may be biased. The person may be, the officer may be, biased or may favor a particular political party for gains, for personal gains over here. And that means that merit is not the consideration for promotions. Merit is no longer a promotion, but your affiliation or closeness to a particular group. And this has a demoralizing effect on the governance and maybe on the colleagues also. And there is hardly any incentive for merit as a promotion criteria. And at the end of the day, people itself suffer. Right. So these are certain concerns over here. Now comes the question. Civil services neutrality is one of the foundational values for bureaucrats. One of the foundational values. By the way, it is not, but on purpose I have put this. So second ARC has stated that second ARC has provided the foundational values. Neutrality word has not been used, rather it is objectivity and impartisanship. Don't argue with the paper, right? Consider this as true. But being objective, being non-partisan implies being neutral. Stating its significance lists the challenges to neutrality in the present context. What are the challenges? And suggest suitable measures to inculcate neutrality in civil services. Right. You can briefly give a note about what is bureaucracy. You can briefly state about that. So they are the civil servants. They are administrative functionaries. They enjoy the permanency of tenure, promotion. They play a key role in implementation of the policies, and in certain cases also policy formulation. So they are the permanent bureaucracy. They enjoy permanency. They are always there. Civil servants, right? They are always there. Elections take place. The political parties may change. Maybe today is Congress, tomorrow it will be BJP, and vice versa. That will keep taking place. Now the civil servants are expected to provide their best expertise to the political class, their best advice, best knowledge. They are the ones who have the grassroots knowledge of what is happening, and they should tender the best advice irrespective of what they believe is right or wrong. I mean, what is the affiliation of the political party or their closeness or disagreement with the political views or ideology of a certain party. So they have to work with the principles of neutrality, with the principle of being objective, with the principle of being non-partisanship, right? So this is very, very important over here. Now, what are the challenges? Erosion of values that are seen over here. Erosion of values. The focus on promotions by affiliation to a particular group. So already this, camps are being made, or groupism is being done, that this so and so is associated with this party, so and so is associated with this party, and then they tend to favor it. So there is lack of emphasis on merit. Undue influence of the political class, trying to influence the way bureaucracy functions. And as you can see here also, let's say this was true, the state machinery being used, the state machinery should be neutral, should be objective when the elections are being done. Now, well, let's say we say the state machinery, state resources are being used for winning elections. So this undermines the process of the democracy also. Right, so all of this, and I think above all it is lack of awareness and sensitization of the people. Right, so these are certain challenges also. So these points are going to be very, very general in nature. Now, what needs to be done? The basic thing is political class will remain the way they are. Their focus is winning the election at no matter whatever the circumstances are there, right? So they will be like that only. It's here that we need to work. Now in 2006, a public services code was introduced. For civil servants, we have a code of conduct. Why not have a code of ethics for civil servants? That you have to work in accordance with these values. So we need to re-emphasize upon the introduction of the code of ethics for civil servants. So code of ethics should be there. We need to sensitize the officials about this. Then other thing that could be done is security of tenure. Even with police, let's say a certain, you must have seen in the news also, or you must have heard about it, that if some MP or MLA is not happy with the police person, they are transferred, shunned off very easily. Bureaucrats are transferred very easily. So security of tenure should be there. So this should be fixated maybe. So security of tenure, promotion, etc. Some sort of a safeguard should be there, so that if a civil servant does not agree to the undue demand of the political class, then they are protected. So some safeguards have to be provided to them. It will not affect in the ACR marks that they have, right, which is responsible for promotions. And maybe audits can also be done, periodic audits, maybe audit on ethics, audit on the finances of the civil servants, maybe they are gaining something, that could also be there. So periodic audits can be done. The vigilance department can play a role in this regard. So these are certain things that can be done over here. And above all, the citizens have to be aware of all this. We need to bring out this issue and create awareness even amongst the citizens also. Right, so these are certain things that can be done to inculcate neutrality in civil servants. Silverline, this has been there in the news. I hardly cover it actually because 2-3 times I've done this. So Silverline, Supreme Court refuses to stay land survey. So let us see what is this Silverline project. So see, this is the Silverline project. It is introduced by the present day government of the Kerala, and they say that all the major cities of the Kerala will be connected by a high speed rail which can go up to 200 kilometers per hour, and then in a time frame of 4 hours one can reach from one corner of Kerala to the other. So this is a high speed rail project that is being developed, and there are certain benefits: decongestion of roads, improvement of air quality. Obviously less vehicles will be there. Rail is considered to be much more eco-friendly as compared to the road transport. Reduction in greenhouse emissions, lower noise impact compared to road transport, minimum land requirement. Now there is opposition to this project. Opposition is that obviously any project is coming, land will be acquired, environment will be affected, some people will be displaced. So there is a lot of protest that is going on, and appeal was made at the High Court against this project. High Court ruled in favor of the project, so they went to the Supreme Court. Now the Kerala authority, the Kerala government, wants to introduce the silver line, and they have said, okay, fine, we are not implementing the project as yet, but we are having a social impact assessment study. Now, what is a social impact assessment study? Now, before any project is coming up, so one is that there has to be an environmental impact assessment. That is, this is a statutory requirement under the Environment Protection Act, that the impact of any project on the environment has to be assessed. Social impact assessment is as to how does the project affect the society. How does the project affect the society in terms of maybe displacement, loss of livelihood, or the positive gains that are accruing to the society? Once we have the data, we can take remedial measures also. We can be proactive about the problems and address it. Right, so economic assessment, hazard assessment, risk assessment, cultural impact, and naturally environment will affect the society and project program. So these are certain things that need to be considered, and this project is worth 64,000 crore project, semi-high speed rail project, also known as the K-Rail. Now, with reference to the state of Kerala only, there is, Kozhikode. I think I've mistyped in the headline section. So Kozhikode, not Kottayam. So it is a recommended. There is the Kerala government. What it wants is that Kozhikode be declared as a creative city and be declared as the city of literature with the help of UNESCO. So city of literature. And why? Because many laureates, many writers are from this city alone. This is the distinction that is there. Many publications are coming from here. So why not declare the city as the city of literature? And who does this? The UNESCO does it. So it is part of UNESCO's, this is the Ministry of Culture, basically. This is from the Twitter account. And so UNESCO basically has an initiative known as Creative Cities Network. So basically, it's part of the sustainable development, but making art and creativity as the core of sustainable development, bringing them to the forefront. So certain cities, like in India, we have Hyderabad associated with gastronomy. Gastronomy is food, basically, like Hyderabadi biryani. Jaipur, crafts and folk arts. These are important for pre, by the way. Chennai is for music, so city of music. Varanasi for music, and Mumbai for film, Bollywood. Right. So creative cities, and whose initiative is it? It is of the UNESCO. So Kerala says that we should also be there. And we have a city which is quite unique in terms of the literary contribution that it is making. So Kozhikode should be declared as such. So for this, it is taking the help of Prague. Prague is in Czech Republic, which has already been given the tag of the city of literature. So they are helping them in preparing the proposal for the same. Now, how will it help? It will help in, obviously, this city is famous for literature. It will attract tourists, especially people who are interested in literature. Maybe the city is able to host a literary fest, and given the tag, it will be much more easier. Right. So in that way, this will help over here. Maybe higher incomes or better opportunities for the laureates also, that can also be there. Now, Kerala is also proposing that we can have, there are other cities also. So let's say 6 cities at least we should have in the Creative Cities program of the UNESCO. So these are Thiruvananthapuram as the city of peace, Kollam as the city of biodiversity, Kochi as the city of design, Thrissur as the city of learning, and Kannur as the city of crafts and folk arts. So branding would help the Kozhikode get a global reach. Obviously, globally, everybody will know that, okay, Kozhikode is the city of literature. Now, this is important from the point of view of GS1. I believe it's very important for prelims as well as mains. But today, I'm just doing this for an overview thing. So decision on Malabar Rebellion, martyrs differed. So what is this Malabar Rebellion, by the way? This we should know. And ICHR to forward suggestions of subcommittees to its research panel. So ICHR has deferred the decision basically. So what is ICHR first of all? So ICHR is the Indian Council for Historical Research. So it is responsible for history related aspects within the country. And it is coming under, it is basically, on Wikipedia it reads as a captive organization of the Ministry of Education. In certain places it reads as an autonomous institution, but yes, it is under Ministry of Education, earlier known as the Ministry of Human Resource and Development. Okay, so they are doing this, right? And they have given this to a subcommittee, which interestingly is a statutory body, but ICHR is not mentioned as a statutory body. So it is given it to Research Project Committee of the Council. Now, that's why I'm a bit confused on this issue over here. Okay, so ICHR. Now coming to the Malabar Rebellion. So there was a proposal. Let's do Malabar and then I'll say why the martyrs are, this thing is deferred. So Malabar Rebellion is also known as Mopla Rebellion, also known as Mapella Rebellion. So it's basically associated with the state of Kerala, obviously Malabar, right? So Kerala over here. So Kerala, as you can see, is on the western coast of India, right? Kerala is on the western side. So Arabs used to come over here and settle over here. Some of them for trade purpose, they used to settle over here. So they had trade establishments. So they were also known as the son-in-law, the Mad. So Mapilla is basically the Malayali for son-in-law. So they started settling, some of them started living, they started having alternate livelihood also. Portuguese had come during the modern history and they displaced the Arabs from the trade, they started settling also. Many of them were not so well off. They were not very well off and they engaged in as farming activities. So they worked on the fields of other farmers, the farms of the landlords, who were incidentally Hindus, Nambudiri Brahmins. Right. Now when the Khilafat issue had taken place, Khilafat issue, that is the rights of the Khalifa will be affected because of the decline of the Ottoman Empire and the British were fighting against the Ottomans. So during the time the Khilafat issue had risen and there was a very tense environment communally also. Plus the Mapillas, the local farmers who were Muslims and the Hindu landlord, obviously farmers have an issue with the landlord over here. And in this case it was the majority were the Muslims and Nambudiri Brahmins, landlords, big landowners. So there was a rebellion against the landlords and the establishment of the British Empire. The landlords collected the revenue from the farmers on behalf of the Britishers. So against the state, and they started attacking the landlords. So this is also known as the Malabar Rebellion because it is in the Malabar region, that is Kerala. Clear? So this is it. Now obviously this had a communal tinge. It was an agrarian issue which turned communal. Temples etc. were attacked. These people were accused of abductions etc. So therefore there is a controversy that should they be given the status of martyr? Right? Should it be considered as a rebellion against the British Raj? So the ruling party at the center and the affiliated organizations, they believe that, and there is a degree of truth also to it, that it was the majority of the victims of this were Hindus. And many of the people who are listed as the martyrs over here, it's about good 500 people are there, so who have been listed as martyrs. They were, in the prior times, they were accused of committing serious offenses including rape, murder, abduction. So calling them martyrs is not justified. So this decision has been deferred. A sub-regional grouping that must get back on course. And which grouping are we talking about? We are talking about the BIMSTEC. So this article I was hoping more, but this is about the blue economy component. Now, what is blue economy? The blue economy is basically associated with all the economic activities associated with the blue, that is ocean. But that is ocean-based economy. So when we say blue economy, it is ocean-based economy plus the principles of sustainability. Now, naturally, since this is the Bay of Bengal region, there are certain issues with reference to the ocean economy. For example, with reference to the Sri Lanka region, we have the fishermen issue that was there in the news. That is there in the news, right? So that is there. And when we talk about the fishermen issue, there is also the concern about the depletion of the fishing reserves in the Indian side of the Gulf region, and the fishermen moving towards the Kerala side. So depletion of the fishing resources, unsustainable fishing, illegal and unregulated fishing, underreported and unregulated fishing, IUU fishing. So that is also taking place. Furthermore, these fishermen get arrested. They get arrested. Sometimes they say that this is our territory only, and sometimes they do not have. Obviously, it's sea. It is not land. It's very difficult to track what are the borders, international maritime borders. So they get arrested, and there is a concern about humanitarian treatment of these fishermen. Hey, so these are certain issues. Likewise, we have issues with Bangladesh also. Hey, so this is there. Now I'll add one more component over here. What about the issue of trade? What about the issue of pollution in the Bay of Bengal region? Pollution, oil spills may take place from time to time. Disaster management associated with sea. In 2004, there was a massive tsunami that had taken place. Disaster management. Right, so all of this. So what this article, and yes, one more thing. The waste, we have a tendency to throw the waste in the sea, and this could be in terms of the sewage from the urban cities, the bad water, stinking water, so untreated sewage water being discharged into the sea. This also leads to the creation of areas which are depleted of oxygen, dead zones. Right, so this leads to the emergence of dead zone with zero oxygen, because you are discharging organic waste over here, you are discharging agricultural waste over here. Naturally, that will, it has to be decomposed, it has to be removed, it will be oxidized. So oxygen will be taken from the ocean, and therefore it will lead to the creation of dead zones in different parts. That means no fisheries will be there. Right, so these are certain issues which the BIMSTEC must address. BIMSTEC, which is associated with the Bay of Bengal region. Now, it also gives us certain facts about the BIMSTEC, that it was started in 1997. Its full form is the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral, Technical and Economic Cooperation. Right, so this is there. Then some facts are given over here, that there is a fragile estuary, there are mangrove forests, so that is getting affected. So mangroves in this region. Now mangroves are very biodiverse, right? These are a kind of these are basically the intermediate between two ecosystems, the sea and the land. And generally such ecosystem is very, very biodiverse. And furthermore, they are rich carbon stocks, and they are also considered, so mangroves, like have a look on the Google also, have a look at the mangrove forest. So mangroves can also protect us from the disasters that may emanate from the oceanic side, like it can break the speed of the waves, like that. Right, so that needs to be done over here. Now it has given certain suggestions that we can note down actually. So first of all, we need to look into the issue of funding, right? We need to look into the issue of funding with reference to the climate related factors. Other thing it says is that we need these vessels that get trapped. For this, we need to have international vessel tracking system. All of this written over here. So these vessels will come with automatic identification systems, trackers. Then establishing a regional fishing vessel registry system. So some registry system is there. Then in that case, the misunderstandings that take place and the arrest that takes place and the human right issues, so that can be addressed. Illegal vessels, illegal ships can be removed from those areas. This will also help check the issue of illegal, underreported, unregulated fishing. Then laws and policies must be there. Most of the article is about fishing actually, that is why I'm not going into this detail. Laws and policies in littoral states must be harmonized with the humanitarian treatment. So fishermen that are held captive, they are held captive in, let's say, in Sri Lanka for a very, very long time. They lose their livelihood. The family living in Tamil Nadu does not know about them. So these are certain concerns over here. So therefore, the BIMSTEC must act quickly, must rise, awake and act. And the BIMSTEC summit is going to take place. That is why this article is there. But this is centered towards the oceanic aspect. Detecting microplastics in human bloods. So there is this organization in Netherlands, a civil society environment organization. So they were detecting blood samples. They were collecting the blood samples, and they found that from 22 people that were seen, of these 70 people, 22 samples they randomly collected, 17 people had microplastics in them. Imagine plastics in your blood. So microplastics have been seen over here. Now this is a very, very big number, about close to 80%, right? So close to 80%. And the plastic that is found, it is about 1.6 milligram. Now imagine this plastic, which is also known as microplastic. The other plastic that we normally see around us is macroplastic. Plastic that is not visible, but that is there. For example, that facial creams and all those things, they may use microplastics for the texture. Or it could be plastic that is cut in very small. I always feel that when I'm cutting the pouch of the milk packet, some microplastics may be coming into me also, because when the milk is being drained, right, from that plastic, so that is also taking place. So there is hardly any definition of microplastics worldwide, but these are tiny bits of various types of plastics that are found in the environment. There is no universal agreement on the size that fits this bill, but it is said that plastic that is less than 5 millimeter in length is a microplastic, right? So anything less than that is there, right? So you have the definition of microplastics, you know about the research, but what they don't know and we don't know is what is the impact that this may have on the health, on the environment, on the ecology. How will this affect? We have been focusing upon plastic waste, etc. But now microplastics, and this is very, very, very dangerous. Plastic entering into you don't even know about it. So here is the question: what are microplastics, and what are the concerns associated with microplastic, and suggest suitable remedial measures. Right, so you can define microplastics. You can give certain examples about the sources of microplastics. Then you can refer to the research that has taken place. You can give an impact. You can mention about this, that it is already found in the human blood, according to a recent research. Now, what are the concerns? I have jotted down some points. So first of all, it is difficult to detect, right? It is difficult to detect. There is a concern that this may be in our bloods already because of the high level of plastic pollution that is there, unregulated practices and scientific practices that are going on. Then what about, okay fine, this is there in the blood, is it harming us? We don't know. Maybe it remains in the blood and it does nothing. But what if it enters into our organs from the blood? So from the blood, it may permeate into our organs, and then it may hamper the functioning of the organs. So you can say that it may permeate into our organs and cause the organs to malfunction. Then you can also give the issue, this is there in the GS3 environment notes when you study it, that is the concept of bioaccumulation and biomagnification. thing is that human beings in the food chain are at the top level. They are in the top level, right? So it is observed that when one goes at the higher levels, the level of pollution that is seen is at a much higher intensity as one goes at the higher trophic level. So this image is just to depict this. So let me cover the first component. The orange thing depicts the bioaccumulation. So bioaccumulation is like when we eat something, everything goes out also. Like it gets filtered out, right? As an waste. But these pollutants, heavy metals, plastics, etc., they tend to accumulate in the body. So they remain into the body. The other thing is, let's say we are eating the fish from the fish, or we are eating the poultry, and the poultry has the plastic. So ultimately it will enter into us. And since we are at the higher trophic level, because we are eating the other species, so in that case, the intensity of the waste, the intensity of the pollutant will be much more. So that is biomagnification. That is, it gets magnified at the next trophic level. Now, what can be done about this? This is a global issue. So let's do global and then come local. So it's a global issue. We need the cooperation of the world. We need to have standardization, some sort of rules and regulations. So India can take a positive role in that regard. We can use the instruments of the World Health Organization and emphasize upon the need for standards. We need to first of all have some research or some alternatives so that microplastics is not used. We need to ban this basically. So global issues, global cooperation is required. We need to have national laws, regulations for the food issue, for the cosmetics, etc., so that microplastics is not used. And for this, we have one agency known as Food Safety and Authority of India. Right, like that, we have a drug regulator also, CDSO. Right, so we have certain agencies, so they can take a proactive role in checking the issue of the microplastics, investigate and seek action against people who are using it. And there is a need to create awareness. Stop using those cosmetics. Stop using it. When the demand is not there, people are sensitized, the companies will not use it. So awareness has to be inculcated. Now Gotabaya, who's Gotabaya? He's the president of Sri Lanka. Now basically there is I think BIMSTEC summit is going to take place in Colombo. So our external affairs minister has gone to Sri Lanka, and there he meets the president, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa. So here the president has appreciated India's invaluable assistance. Sri Lanka is having this debt crisis. They are into the bankruptcy. They are not able to import things. They don't have paper for conducting examination. Things are getting very expensive. The banking system is collapsing. So it says that India did provide a credit aid. It provided them assistance worth $2.4 billion by way of currency swap. The loans that were given, they have been deferred, and credit lines for essential imports. Right, so these things have been provided. So obviously it is a relief from India to Sri Lanka over here. Right, so India-Sri Lanka relationship also, that way you can look at it. So one is this issue. The other issue is that since he is there, and with reference to Sri Lanka, we will always talk about the Tamil issue. So this is the Tamil dominated belt in the Sri Lanka. This is the Jaffna region. So he met the various institutions of various political parties, especially the Tamil parties like the Tamil National Alliance, which happens to be in the opposition. So he met various groups over there. He inaugurated the Indian-built Jaffna Culture Center virtually with President Rajapaksa. And he also talked about the Malaya Tamils in Sri Lanka. Now, Malaya Tamils are basically, they were basically Tamils who brought by the Britishers as, for promoting plantation work in Sri Lanka. So as labor, they were brought in and they settled over there. So they are known as Malaya Tamils. And this group, their socio-economic status is not as advantaged. They are disadvantaged, basically. They are not so well off. So it says socio-economic issues of Malaya Tamil, Indian origin Tamil community must be looked into. We should provide them equality, justice, peace and dignity. Right, so these are the things over here. Now coming to the last article, this is basically with reference to the parliamentary session where a junior minister of state, Mr. Taylor, has said that India doesn't plan to buy oil from Russia in rupees. Right. Yesterday article we said that Russia's foreign minister is coming and we may look at the currency swap. So says until now we do not have any agreement on this. But it does say that India looks to take advantage of the Russian oil which is being sold in the market at the discounted price. Right, so this is what it is doing. Right then, so this concludes the session. So thank you for streaming in to IASPrimers with me, Shubhashish. Bye bye, take care and all the best.